Okay, this is the second session in which we will cover the national cuisine and culinary identity. Many nations today, they are boast of their own national culinary cuisine as well as culinary culture. For example, what do you think about when you think of Korean food? There are many representative Korean food, and now these representative Korean food compose and it forms Korean culinary identity. But of course, this what many cases they were not created naturally. Rather, they are created by socially as well as sometimes often by government. So, in today's world, many nation-state, the nation-state government, they try to promote their own national cuisine. And also globalization of their national food, because by globalizing your own national food, you can make a lot of money. And often, not just money, but also you can exert certain cultural power to the peoples of the world, which is called soft power, which include identity politics and economic and diplomatic benefit. Imagine that if people like certain food so much, they tend to, it's like any popular cultural or cultural icons, they would develop very positive feelings and effect to the country simply because of the food. So today's governments, they are very well aware of this amazing fact, and that's why almost every government today, they try to pursue national food globalization. And one of the most successful case today, I believe, would be Japan. Everyone knows sushi, and sushi is available just everywhere, all the way from Portugal to Russia in Eurasia, and from Russia to all the way down to New Zealand. Everyone is eating sushi on a daily basis. Now, sushi having been globalized so well and so much, you don't need to go to a restaurant to eat sushi. In fact, if you go to a restaurant to eat sushi, they are very, very expensive. Fortunately, even supermarket shelves, you can find packed sushi packs, and you can buy sushi from any convenience stores in almost every country in Asia today, or including North America and Oceania. So Japan's food has been very, very successfully globalized. And everyone knows when they hear about sushi, they imagine Japan. So sushi is Japan and Japan is sushi. Now, if that happens, what benefit does Japan have? It's amazing. Not only people strengthen their positive imagination of the country of Japan and people of Japan, but also Japanese companies like Kikkoman, which is one of the largest, biggest producer of soy sauce, would make enormous amount of money. As a matter of fact, ever since sushi has become globalized, in North America, the biggest the Kikkoman companies probably in the whole world started to increase its product a lot. Now, this is partly a result of Japanese government Cool Japan initiative, which they started already in 1980s. Now, Cool Japan includes not just food, but also manga and other popular culture, but food is one of the most successful Japanese, the result of Cool Japan initiative. And now, In North America or in Oceania, in Europe, what is the most popular Asian food, do you think, in your country? Maybe many of you will think of Chinese food. Of course, Chinese food is everywhere, thanks to the huge number of Chinese overseas people who went to North America, Europe, and everywhere. The second most popular Asian food now might be sushi, but before then, until very recently, and also its popularity is continuously growing, that is Thai food. Thai food has become a global food almost everywhere. That is a result of Thai government's very systematic effort of pursuing Thailand as a kitchen of the world project. Thailand government tried to standardize Thailand food, and they even funded overseas Thai people to open Thai restaurant. And of course, there are many other historical factors as well, but in general, Thai food is very well known to any European or North American and Oceanian countries. And today, Thai food is probably definitely number 2 Asian food in many countries. Now, less successful countries such as Malaysia also pursue similar policy. In the case of Malaysia, the Malaysian government has been pursuing Malaysia as the kitchen for the world program, which they call MKP. So more people today know about laksa, for example, and Peranakan food, which we will cover sometime later. Okay, so what is national cuisine and culinary identity and how they are developed? As I have implied, the Korean national culinary culture, which Koreans call Hansik, the Korean food, Hansik, is a modern construction, just like most of the national cuisine today. In the Japanese sushi, it's not traditional that much because the sushi that we know of today was invented in Tokyo area only about 100, maybe at best 150 years ago. But it is a representative food of Japan. So Korean food Hansik itself was a modern invention by Korean society, and more than that by Korean government, which has been pursuing Hansik globalization already from late 1980s and particularly 1990s. Now, if by promoting this your national culinary culture or national cuisine, as I said, the country benefits diplomatically and also economically, such as more people come and visit your country simply to taste your food. And not to mention trade. When Korean food has become global recently, now many Korean food production companies has been selling their food overseas. Now that means a lot of money. So that's why most of government today, they don't ignore this very fact that food can be converted into not only cultural power, but also economic and financial power as well. Korea has been less successful in compared to Japan and Thailand in the past, but recently, as I said, Korean government has been pursuing the Korean food Hansik globalization, and they established the Hansik Jedan, which is Hansik Foundation, already more than 15 years ago. And for example, year 2008, South Korean government declared that year as a year of Korean food globalization. And what did they do? For example, the Korean Tourism Organization, which promotes and advertise and market the tourism, the inbound tourists to South Korea, they have been relying on Korean food, as well as K-pop, of course, But recently, more and more, they advertise themselves as Korea as a food country. So in this image, you see that Korean food guide, and that's published by Korea Tourism, the organization. And it was only about 20 years ago, suddenly Korean Tourism Organization started to marketize Korean temple food. Of course, temple food has been in Korea for nearly 1,000 years, ever since Buddhism was introduced to Korea. But temple food has become a commercial product only recently. So these days, Korean Tourism Organization advertised and lure foreigners to come and visit to South Korea and stay a few nights or longer time in a Korean Buddhist temple and to enjoy temple food as well as some basic meditation learning as well. So in general, just like any other countries, South Korea itself has been very active in promoting Korean food. And Korean government also paid attention to that 7 million Korean people scattered around the world, the Korean diaspora. And because Korean diasporas are in China and Russia and former Soviet Union and Japan and the US, mainly these 4 main countries traditionally, so these Koreans, actually they were in the front line people who globalized Korean food. For example, the former Soviet Koreans who were living in the former Soviet Union, and today many Central Asian republics and also Russian Federation, they were the people who spread Korean food such as kimchi. Everyone knows kimchi, but in Russia there is something called the Korean carrot salad, which Russians call koreyskaya morkovy. And now this such a food doesn't exist in Korea, but somehow these Koreans spread out that food, and today any Russians, anyone who live in the former Soviet Union, they all know Korean carrot salad. And also morskaya kapusta, which literally means marine cabbage in Russian. Now that is miok salad. And these food everyone knows in the former Soviet Union. And also Korean people in Japan who are called the Zainichi, and they were the ones who spread yakiniku culture in Japan. And also Koreans in America, they created many fusion food, including the kimchi taco and so on. And they were the ones who actually globalized Japanese sushi. As we will cover this content sometime later in this session, in the future, it was not Japanese, but it was Korean migrants in America who spread out and globalized Japanese sushi, which has very interesting history. And Korean people in China who are called the Joseonjok, and they also spread kimchi throughout entire China, and cold noodle. The Chinese people, they love cold noodle so much, or ramen or naengmyeon, and everyone knows this is Korean food. And they were the ones also who innovated Xinjiang style barbecued lamb skewers, which has been gaining popularity in South Korea as well as in Japan and even in California, and they were the ones who globalized this food. Okay, so that has been the second session where we covered national cuisine and cultural identity, culinary identity, and in our third section we will talk about how natural environment of the Korean peninsula where Koreans live have impacted on Korean food culture. Okay, so that was the end of the first session, And now if we have anything, any topic we can discuss, or especially if you have any questions.
Yes, let's talk about the Korean diaspora and food. So it's very interesting how the Korean diaspora has contributed to the globalization of Korean food. I do have a question regarding the food spread by the Korean diaspora in the United States. So you mentioned that they actually created various fusion foods. So could you please introduce particular K-fusion food made by Korean immigrants in the United States?
Yeah, good question. As a matter of fact, Korean diasporas, they also globalized Japanese sushi, not just Korean food. And in terms of Korean food, like they invented kimchi burger or kimchi taco and bulgogi burger and so on. And particularly because Latinos in California, they love hot food. So even Korean jjampong is very popular among them.
That's very interesting. And I do also have a memories regarding the foods made by Zainichi. So I remember when I was maybe 10 years old, me and my family traveled to Osaka, Japan, and there was a ramen restaurant which is famous for kimchi ramen.
I see.
And it was located just in the middle of Osaka Central, perhaps Dotonbori, I guess.
I see. Okay.
And the interesting point here perhaps is that my dad actually told me the owner of the restaurant who invented this kimchi ramen was
kimchi ramen.
Yeah, and he was actually Zainichi, the Korean diaspora in Japan. So of course the taste was indeed amazing, which was quite similar to kimchi jjigae, the kimchi stew. So
that sounds great.
Yeah, so I reckon this experience is related to the spread of K-food by the Korean diaspora.
I see. That's quite common. I mean, if you live in foreign country, you bring your own food and then you localize your food. So many new food items tend to be invented when people migrate.
It is.
Yeah.
So further to my own experience, I've searched several articles related to Zainichi Korean food.
Oh, you did?
Which claims Zainichi Korean entrepreneurs and home cooks turned their dishes into something uniquely Korean Japanese by adapting their food to Japanese palate. So Zainichi Koreans actually transformed Japanese society and culture from the culture. So some dishes actually introduced by Zainichi Koreans became widely accepted in Japan actually. So there might be some examples of UK. Of course, it also exists in Italy, I guess, but nowadays, UK became one of the famous or like popular foods in Japanese restaurant, and it's actually, I heard that is actually very popular among the Japanese youths. So
That's right.
that might be one of the examples of Zainichi food, I guess.
Sure. Well, even more interestingly, the hormone yakiniku, which is the intestines of animals, which Japanese don't eat, and Chinese Koreans used to grill it because they didn't have any money to buy ordinary meat. So even that food has been very popular recently.
Yeah, so I think, like, for example, yakiniku also probably could be considered as the food of Zainichi.
Yes.
But there are some like several controversies regarding yakiniku is really indeed originated from Japan or Korea. But despite this debate, however, I personally believe that whatever the historical fact is, it is very fascinating to see how diaspora has contributed to diversifying the food industry worldwide, I guess.
Yes, indeed. I mean, yakiniku itself is a difficult work. It is not for noble class work because you have to smell the beef or pork or anything. So generally, that's the business of lower class poor people, and that was what Chinese did in Japan. So in a sense, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, they spread out yakiniku culture in Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, so far we have been talking about the general Korean diaspora and food. And I hope it has been interesting and helpful to the audience. Thank you.